Hello, everybody. We are back. This is The Joy of Mixing. My name is Ken Hertz. We are here with Elizabeth and me. This is the second part of my mixing series. We're going to mix the drum kit today. As I've talked about before, this kit is all samples, so we're going to approach the mix a little bit differently than we would with a live kit. However, everything I'm doing here, you're going to be able to do in your DAW as well. I will say that I did want to mix this from scratch. I did shoot a video where I mixed it from scratch. However, I accidentally wasn't able to capture any of the plugins. So you, the humble viewer, were unable to see what I was doing with the plugins. So I went ahead and I just decided rather than do this from scratch again, I would just give you guys a walkthrough of what I did, what plugins I'm using here, where everything's being routed to, and we'll go that route. So, having said that, let's jump in here and let's listen to the kit. This is the kit without any kind of plugins or anything like that being applied. Let's give it a listen and see what we got. She didn't think I heard her. Okay, so basically, it sounds, kind of dry, kind of dull. Not, it sounds okay, but doesn't have a whole lot of feel to it. And again, we did this. These samples are all from EZdrummer, and that's how we were able to get the drums for this particular song. So let's go ahead and let's just solo the kick out. Again, I'm in Luna. For those of you who don't have Luna, I recommend it, but like I said, you can do these moves in any DAW that you're using at home. So let's go ahead, solo out the kick. And let's just listen to the kick. Yeah, so by itself, the kick just sounds like it needs a little bit of beef. It doesn't really, there's not a whole lot of meat going on in this kick, and just needs a little bit of power behind it. So what I did was, let me go ahead, bring in, this is Waves R Bass. Recommend this plugin if you don't have it. Not one that I would typically use for a kick drum. I would use it mostly for bass, but however, it seems to be doing the job here pretty well. So what I did was I have it frequency set at 51 hertz. And when you listen to this with the R bass, you'll see that it adds a lot of oomph, which is what I was going for here with this kick. She didn't think I heard. Okay, so there you heard hear the R bass on that kick. I'm gonna swap back and forth just so you can hear the comparison here. So you can see it's adding a lot more oomph to the kick, which is sounds really nice. Let's go ahead and bring in the Pro Q3 here, and let's give it a listen with this is FabFilter Pro Q3. Let's go ahead and listen with this plugin added. So not really doing much with this plugin, as you can see, just kind of rolling off 20 hertz and below, and just notching out a little bit at 80. And the only reason I notched at 80 was just to give the bass a little place to live. It's nothing crazy here, just a little tiny, just a little scoop out for the bass guitar to live at. So that's what I did there. Um, then we have this track going to Drum Crush, which we'll explain in a little bit. We have it going to Drum Room, and we have it going to Drum Dirty. And again, we'll talk about those as we go along. So next up we have the snare top, and with the snare top, I'm just going to go ahead and play this real quick. Okay, so what we did was I didn't like, there was no real meat to this sample. And I wanted there to be some nice like thump to this, not thump, but meat. I don't know how else to explain it except just want to hear sort of like a whack in this snare. And so what I did was I duplicated this channel here, and we put trigger 2 Slate Digital trigger, or it's just Steven Slate trigger drums on this track. And what I did was, if I can open this up, what we have here is we have Produce Like a Pro drum samples, which if you're not a member of Produce Like a Pro, I encourage you to please head over there, check out Warren Hewart. I've learned so much from just watching his channel, and I do highly recommend it. And plus, you sign up for Produce Like a Pro, you get all these cool little samples and stuff like that. So definitely worth checking out. I used the 100 hertz snare sample here just because I wanted that little bit of 100 hertz that I wasn't getting out of the snare. I don't like to try and EQ things that aren't there. I would rather we add these frequencies and work with them, blend them in if we can. So let's just play the sample for a second, just so you can hear what I added to this snare top. Okay, so that's what we added to the snare top. Just that little 100 hertz, just bloop, just that's all we put in there. And if we go ahead and we combine the snare top and the snare trigger, let's hear what we have there. So again, just a little bit of low end on that snare. Just a little bit of smack, and then to kind of bring that out more, that smack out more, I went over here and I added, again, because we're working with samples, and I liked the R bass so much on the kick that I went ahead and added it to the snare. And then what I did was I took those two elements, the snare top, the snare trigger, and I'm sending them to a bus that I've called snare top, and we have a little bit of EQ going on this. We have a little bit of EQ, as you can see. We're taking out some of the low lows. Here I'm taking out 42 and below, giving a little boost at 147, just again to kind of bring out that thwack in the snare. Taking out a little bit of 350, not much, just to kind of clear things up a hair, and giving a little bit of attack there at 4K. So when we do that, and I also threw in the 1176, again, just for some added smack. So let's listen now to these three elements here. We have the snare top, the snare trigger, and the combined, the mix of those two. So getting just a little more 100 hertz there than I would like. So I brought it down a little bit. But overall, not too bad. Let's listen to now this snare top as well as the kick. Now we have to, okay, so we've done our mix of the snare top. Now let's go over to the snare bottom, and on the snare bottom, let me bring it up here. Really all I'm doing with the snare bottom is removing the low end because we don't really need it on the bottom. There's not much really, there's not a whole lot of low end information on the snare bottom anyway. But any information that is there, I wanted to remove, and just giving a little high shelf here at 3K, well, 3500, just to give that high end just a little bit of a boost. And here we can listen to, let's listen to the snare top as well as the snare bottom. Okay, so there's our snare bottom, our snare top. You can hear what I assume is supposed to be a little bit of kick in that snare bottom. There's not really a whole lot of bleed with samples. Well, they're samples, so there won't be any bleed really. But I guess EZdrummer does try to throw in a little bit of, sort of some bleed there. So I think that's what we were hearing. Okay, now let's head over to the hi-hat and see what we did there. And with the hi-hat, not doing a whole lot, just kind of taking off some low end. That's really all I did there. Let's go ahead and add that to, let's put the hi-hat in with the rest of the kit that we have so far. Okay, so moving right along, we have the first tom of the rack toms, and what we did here was we boosted a little bit at 113, again, just to get some of that body out of the tom. A little bit of 244, just to kind of look for, grab a little bit of the tone, and a little bit of attack out here at 5K. So, to go to the toms, we have to find a spot in the mix here where you can listen to the toms. And let's just, before I go on, why don't we just, we'll bring in all the toms. This second rack tom here, same sort of thing, boosting a little bit at around 100. This is actually 90. Boosting a little bit for some low end, boosting a little bit at around 200 just for a little more beef, and taking out a little bit of muddiness there at 350. And the floor tom here, let's go ahead and bring it on. And again, same sort of thing, kind of treating these each the same. There's a little bit more low end on the floor tom, so I did bring that back to about 70, and just taking out a little bit of 300. And I felt this needed a little bit of a shelf at 4K, probably just to hear a little bit more attack out of it. So why don't we let's listen to these toms and see what we have. Okay, so there aren't a whole lot of toms in this song, so I won't, we won't listen to them much, just to kind of give you a general idea of what I did for these toms. Let's go over to the overhead and we will enable that, and I'll show you what we did with this as far as EQ is concerned. So again, rolling off some low end. That's pretty typical. I'll roll off low end and almost everything I end up mixing. Taking out just a little bit of 400 just to kind of clear up, bring a little bit more, 486, just to kind of clear up this low end, and then a little bit of air at 11K. And let's give this a listen. I think what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to bring this back just a little bit more. I can't really hear the kick or the snare in this overhead, so but I just felt like maybe it could have used a little more on the low end here.
Ever let me
Okay, so now let's talk about drum crush. What we have here is we have the snare and the kick, and we have these going over to drum crush, which is over here. Let me go ahead and solo these and let you listen to what exactly the drum crush is doing. Actually, before I do that, let's go in here. Let's enable this plugin. This is the Slate Digital. This is the FG Bomb, I believe it is. Yeah, FG Bomber. Just kind of crushing the signal some, just to kind of bring out, accent the transients in our kick and our snare. So let's go ahead and listen to this. Didn't go too crazy with the drum crush. Didn't really annihilate annihilate this track. Just wanted to hear a little bit more of the kick and snare. That's really all I was trying to get there. Okay, so next up we have the drum room. So the drum room, I didn't like the drum room I was getting out of EZdrummer, so I went ahead and created a drum room myself with, we're using the Valhalla Vintage Verb large wood room for this sound. And let's go ahead and listen with let's go ahead and listen to the drum room just by itself. Okay, let's go ahead and bring it into the track. So yeah, just bringing in some nice reverb into this kit, making it come alive a little bit, which is exactly what we were going for. And then now finally on the end here we have drum dirty. So I wouldn't typically put a drum dirty on any live recorded kit unless I felt it really needed something like this. Basically what we have here is we have waves berserk, and we have a little bit of distortion going on. Not much. I'll solo this out so you can hear it. So we have this, and then we also have the H delay, which is just kind of messing things up. If you follow Warren Hewitt's channel at all, you'll know that he calls it wrongness, and just trying to create some wrongness in this kit that's otherwise, perfectly on time, and just trying to bring in a little feel to this, just to kind of, well, like I printed out dirty, just kind of make it sound a little bit dirty, a little bit wrong, a little bit different, So that's kind of what this track here is for. So let's go ahead, let's solo this out. So yeah, I mean, on its own, that sounds not that great. It's like, well, what the heck, what the heck is that? It sounds crazy. But however, when you throw it in the track, it just adds a little bit of what's missing here. And now let's go ahead, let's listen to this kit as we have it in the track.
She's got a hold on me somehow. I don't even know her now. She's got a hold on me somehow. Elizabeth and me were watching movies on TV, and as I lay beside her, there's nowhere else I'd rather be. She says I'm scared of something, so don't ever let me go.
And again, I will just let you hear the kit all by itself. So yeah, that sounds much better than what we had before we started this. Before we added all the plugins. So that pretty much brings me to the drum sound for this track. Okay, so let's go ahead. Let's bring in a bus, stereo bus. We're gonna have no summing. We're gonna call this drum bus. And so there's our drum bus right there. We're gonna go ahead. We're gonna take our kick, send it to our drum bus. We're going to take our snare top, send it to the drum bus as well. And then we're going to take the snare bottom, all of the buses we've already made, and send them to the drum bus. So now what we have here is just our drum. This is our just overall drum bus right here. I'm not going to do anything to it effects wise. Let's just give it a listen. Okay, so that is our drum bus fully mixed and in the track. Next time we come back, we will go ahead and work on the bass next, and we will do the bass not like I did this. We'll actually listen to the bass and pick plugins and stuff like that. This was just, I had to do it this way because of what happened before when you guys couldn't see the plugins. So Till next time, if you have any questions or any comments, please leave them down below. Let me know, how do you mix drums? Is this something that you think would work for you? If you have any questions, anything you want me to go over, I will probably do a video at some point of mixing a live kit. Just for this song, we didn't have a live kit. So outside of that, yeah, go ahead, leave me a comment, give me a thumbs up if you like the video. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified when new videos come out. And until next time, happy mixing. See you later.